The smell of despair filled the air on Nexus Station's lower deck. Captain Jake Morrison pushed through the crowd of buyers, his jaw tight with disgust. He had come here for ship supplies, not to witness the horror of the slave markets. But something made him stop at Platform 7. A young alien woman stood on the auction block, her silver-blue skin marked with fading bruises. Her species was unfamiliar to Jake, with delicate features and eyes that shifted color like nebulae. The auctioneer's voice boomed over the crowd. "This one's defective," the reptilian dealer announced. "Zara, of the Lyrian people, claims she cannot work. Starting bid, 500 credits, the crowd muttered dismissively. Jake watched as the woman named Zara kept her head down, but he caught something in her expression. It was not defeat, but calculation. She was planning something. 200. Someone called out mockingly. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. These creatures were treating her like broken cargo. He stepped forward before his rational mind could. "Stop him." 5,000 credits, he called out. The crowd turned to stare at the human captain. Zara's eyes snapped up to meet his, and Jake felt something electric pass between them. Her irises swirled from deep purple to brilliant gold. "Sold," the auctioneer declared quickly, eager to close a profitable deal. Minutes later, Jake led Zara through the station corridors toward his ship. She walked silently beside him, the slave collar heavy around her neck. When they reached the Wanderer's airlock, Jake turned to face her. "I am not buying you to own you," he said quietly. "I am buying you to free you." Zara studied his face intently. When she spoke, her voice was musical but cautious. "Why would a human help me?" "Because slavery is wrong," Jake replied simply. "And because there is something about you that tells me you are far from defective." As they entered his ship, Zara's composure finally cracked. She touched the walls with wonder, her fingers tracing the control panels. Jake watched as she unconsciously began to hum, and the ship's systems responded, purring more smoothly than they had in months. "You are not just any slave, are you?" Jake asked. Zara met his eyes again, and this time he saw intelligence blazing there like a star. "My people called me their greatest scientist before the raids began," she whispered. "Science cannot stop plasma cannons or slave collars." Jake reached for the collar's release mechanism. "Maybe not," he said softly, "but freedom can stop fear." The collar fell away with a soft click. Zara gasped, touching her neck with trembling fingers. For the first time in months, she could breathe freely. "What happens now?" she asked Jake. Smiled, feeling something stir in his chest that had nothing to do with duty and everything to do with the remarkable woman before him. "Now we find out what a free Lyrian scientist can really do." Escape from Nexus, the Wanderer's engines roared to life as Jake initiated emergency departure protocols. Through the view screen, Nexus Station fell away behind them, but their troubles were just beginning. Proximity alarms blared as 3 pursuit ships emerged from the station's shadow. "They are slave hunters," Zara said, her voice steady despite the danger. She had moved to the co-pilot's seat without asking, her hands dancing over the navigation controls with surprising familiarity. Corvin's crew, he never lets valuable cargo escape. Jake threw the ship into a steep dive toward a nearby asteroid. "Field, how valuable are we talking?" Zara's lips curved in a slight smile that made Jake's heart skip. "Before my capture, I developed quantum jump technology that could revolutionize space travel. Corvin believes I still carry the knowledge." "Do you?" She tapped her temple. "Every equation, every formula. My people's gift is perfect memory." The ship shuddered as enemy fire grazed their shields. Jake piloted them deeper into the asteroid field, weaving between tumbling rocks the size of buildings. Behind them, 2 of the pursuit ships fell back, unable to match the Wanderer's agility. There Zara pointed to a massive asteroid. "That one has a cave system. Can feel the electromagnetic signatures." Jake glanced at her in surprise. "Feel them?" "My species senses energy patterns," she explained, then hesitated. "I should have mentioned that earlier." As they dove into the asteroid's hidden cave system, Jake found himself studying Zara's profile in the dim light. She was beautiful in an otherworldly way, but it was her intelligence and courage that drew him. When she caught him looking, Neither of them looked away immediately. "Jake," she said softly, using his name for the first time. "Why did you really buy me?" It was quiet for a moment as he navigated the narrow passages. At first, because it was right. But now, ... He met her gaze.
How?
"Now I think it might have been fate." Zara's skin flushed a deeper blue, and Jake realized it was her equivalent of a blush. They found a wider cavern, and Jake set the ship down, powering down to minimal life support to avoid detection. The cave was beautiful. It's filled with natural crystals that caught and reflected the ship's lights. As they waited in the quiet space, Jake and Zara found themselves sitting closer together than necessary. "Tell me about your world," Jake said. Zara's eyes grew distant. Lyrios was a world of floating cities and crystalline forests. We were explorers and inventors, peaceful until the hegemony came. Her voice broke slightly. They took everything. My family, my laboratory, my freedom. Jake reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft. "We will find a way to free your people." "We?" she asked, hope flickering in her swirling eyes. "You are not alone anymore, Zara. I promise you that." She leaned against him, and Jake felt the rightness of it, as if they had been meant to find each other among the stars. Outside, Corvin's ships searched in vain, while inside the asteroid, two hearts began to beat in harmony. 3 days later, the Wanderer approached the outer moon of Kepler 7. Zara had been quiet during their journey, but Jake noticed how she watched him when she thought he was not looking. The attraction between them grew stronger with each shared meal and whispered conversation. There, Zara pointed to what appeared to be empty space. "Send the recognition signal." Jake followed her instructions, transmitting a complex pattern of pulses. Suddenly, a massive structure shimmered into view, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. It was a city built into the moon's surface, beautiful and impossible. "Welcome to New Lyrios," Zara whispered. They were met at the docking bay by Elder Nyx, an ancient Lyrian with skin like starlight. She embraced Zara with tears in her luminous eyes. "My child, we thought you were lost forever." "I was lost," Zara replied, glancing at Jake, "until someone found me." Nyx studied Jake with keen interest. Human who risks everything for one of us. How fascinating. That evening, Nyx gave them quarters in the city's upper levels. Jake's room had a balcony overlooking the hidden city. And as he stood there marveling at the advanced architecture, he heard soft footsteps behind him. Zara joined him at the railing, wearing a flowing gown that caught the artificial starlight. "Beautiful, is it not?" "You are beautiful," Jake said without thinking, then felt heat rise in his face. "I mean, yes, the city is incredible." Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells. "I know what you meant." She moved closer, close enough that Jake could smell the sweet scent of her skin. "Jake, I need to tell you something." Before she could speak, Jake turned to face her fully. The moonlight caught in her hair, and he could not help himself. Reached out to touch her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Whatever it is, it does not change how I feel about you," he said softly. "How do you feel about me?" she whispered. Instead of answering with words, Jake leaned down and kissed her. Her lips were soft and warm, and she tasted like stardust and promises. When they broke apart, Zara's eyes were glowing with inner light. "I'm not just any survivor," she confessed, her forehead resting against his. "I am the last heir to the Lyrian throne. The rebellion looks to me to lead them home." Jake's hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer. "Then we will get you there, we." "Jake, this is my burden to bear." "No," he said firmly, his lips finding the sensitive spot where her neck met her shoulder. Zara gasped, her hands clutching at his shirt. "We are partners now, in everything." They spent the night on the balcony, under alien constellations, sharing stories and gentle touches that spoke of growing love. When dawn came, they knew their peaceful time was ending. Elder Nyx appeared at the balcony door with grave news. "Human ships approach," she announced. "They demand we surrender you both."
Ooh.
Jake and Zara looked at each other, hands clasped tight. Their sanctuary was about to become a battlefield. The betrayal and bond Commander Voss of the Terran fleet stood in the conference room of his flagship, studying the intelligence reports. So the fugitive captain has found himself a valuable alien princess, he mused. How convenient. Beside him, Rennick shifted uncomfortably. The Lyrian rebel had once been Zara's closest friend, perhaps more. Now he wore the uniform of a Terran informant, his silver skin marked with the scars of torture. She trusts me, Rennick said quietly. I can get close enough to take her. And the human? Kill him? He means nothing. Got in the moon, Jake and Ued. Zara prepared for the coming confrontation. But as they checked their weapons, a familiar figure appeared at the city's main gate. Zara's face lit up with joy and disbelief. Rennick, she cried, running into the arms of the tall Lyrian male. Jake felt a stab of jealousy as he watched them embrace. My beloved Zara, Rennick whispered into her hair. I've searched the galaxy for you. Jake stepped forward cautiously. Something felt wrong about this reunion, but Zara's happiness was radiant. Jake, this is Rennick, she said, her arm around the newcomer's waist. We were ... close before the war.
Ow.
Rennick studied Jake with cold eyes. The human who bought you like property. The human who freed me, Zara corrected firmly. That night, as the three of them planned their next move, Jake could not shake his unease. When Zara stepped out to speak with Elder Nix, Jake confronted Rennick directly. What are you really doing? Here, Rennick's facade dropped, revealing calculated hatred. Saving my people from her foolish dreams. The humans will never accept us as equals. Better to serve and survive than fight and die. Before Jake could respond, stun blasts filled the air. Terran soldiers poured into the city, led by Commander Voss. In the chaos, Jake saw Rennick grab Zara, pressing a neural inhibitor to her neck. Forgive me, Rennick whispered, as Zara collapsed. Jake fought through the soldiers to reach her, but more stun blasts dropped him to his knees. As consciousness faded, he heard Voss speaking to Rennick. Excellent work. The princess will be very cooperative once she understands the stakes. Hours later, Jake awakened in a prison cell aboard Voss's ship. Through the energy bars, he could see Zara in the opposite cell, still unconscious from the neural inhibitor. When she finally stirred, her eyes found his immediately. I am sorry, she whispered. Rennick was once my heart's choice. I never thought. You could not have known. Jake replied, reaching through the bars toward her. Their fingers almost touched across the gap. They want my knowledge to build weapons, Zara said. If I refuse, they will destroy New Lyrios. Then we give them something else, Jake said with determination. We give them a war they cannot win. Zara looked at him with wonder. Even in captivity, even facing certain death, he still stood with her. In that moment, she knew that whatever she had felt for Rennick was nothing compared to the love growing in her heart for this stubborn, brave human. I choose you, Jake Morrison, she said softly. Whatever happens, I choose you. Their hands finally touched through the energy barrier, and sparks of hope ignited in the darkness. The prison transport ship Retribution held steady in orbit above Zara's homeworld of Lyrios. In the observation deck, Commander Voss watched the planet's surface through tactical displays, while Rennick stood beside him, his face troubled. The weapon. Satellites are in position, Voss announced. One word from me, and every Lyrian city burns. Your princess will cooperate now. But in the detention cells below, Jake and Zara were far from defeated. During their imprisonment, Zara had been secretly using her energy-sensing abilities to map the ship's systems. Jake had been working on a different kind of preparation. The guard rotation changes in 10 minutes, he whispered through the energy barrier between their cells. Are you ready? Zara nodded, her eyes blazing with determination. My people have a saying, love gives us strength to move mountains. Today, we move stars. When the guards came for their routine check, they found Jake apparently unconscious in his cell. As they deactivated the barrier to investigate, he struck with desperate precision. The first guard went down silently, and Jake grabbed his weapon to stun the second. Within moments, Zara was free. Together, they fought their way through the ship's corridors. but Jake was struck by plasma fire in the final corridor before the hangar. Zara caught him as he fell, her eyes filling with tears. "Go," he gasped. "Get to your people. I will hold them off." "Never," Zara said fiercely. "We live together, or we die together." She helped him to his feet, and together they stumbled into the hangar where Jake's ship waited under heavy guard. But as the soldiers raised their weapons, the Wanderer's systems came alive on their own, responding to Zara's unconscious call. The ship's defensive guns swept the hangar clear. Minutes later, they were in space, racing toward Lyrios. Behind them, Voss's fleet gave pursuit, but ahead of them, something magnificent was happening. Lyrian ships were rising from the planet's surface, their hulls gleaming like jewels against the stars. And beside them, to everyone's amazement, flew human vessels bearing the flags of independent colonies. "How?" Zara gasped. Jake smiled through his pain. "I may have sent a few messages while we were imprisoned. Turns out a lot of humans do not like slavery either." The space above Lyrios became a battlefield unlike any before. Human and Lyrian ships fought side by side, their combined tactics overwhelming Voss's forces. In the command ship, the commander watched his fleet crumble while Rennick stared at the displays in wonder. "They fight as one," Rennick whispered. "Humans and Lyrians, united." "It is impossible," Voss snarled. But it was not impossible. It was happening, guided by the love between a human captain and an alien princess that had become something larger than themselves. As the last of Voss's ships surrendered, Jake and Zara landed on Lyrios' surface to find thousands of beings, human and Lyrian alike, waiting to celebrate their freedom, standing before the assembled crowd. With Jake's hand in hers and her people's ancient crown upon her brow, Queen Zara spoke the words that would reshape the galaxy. "Today we prove that love knows no species, no boundary, no star. Today we choose unity over fear, hope over hatred. Today we are no longer human or Lyrian. We are free." As the twin suns set over Lyrios, Jake and Zara stood together on the palace balcony, watching their combined fleets patrol the peaceful skies. In the months that followed, their union would become the foundation of the first true alliance between species built not on conquest, but on love. "No regrets?" Zara asked, her hand resting over her heart where their first child grew. Jake kissed her softly, tasting the sweetness of their shared future, "Only that it took so long to find you." Above them, the stars sang with the promise of adventures yet to come.